In this video, I'm going to show you the only utility you need to know on Ancient to reach the highest levels of CS2. On my own road to pro, I've spent many hours trying to find the perfect piece of utility. But in reality, to win in Counter-Strike, you just need to have the basics locked in. So to save you time, I will show you what to throw, when to throw it, and why it will win you rounds. And a quick shout out to Metastack for a database full of utility lineups that you can use today using my link in the description below. Let's start with T side and taking control of mid. So the first smokes you want to focus on is the red smoke. So for these, you don't have to do the instant smokes, as going out mid is going to be delayed if the CTs know how to do utility. So one side of the red smoke is coming into this side of the middle pillar here, aiming with this part of the broken brick and jump throwing. You can do this from the other side depending on your spawn. Again, the middle of this pillar here, aim with this part, jump throw. These both land nicely in red, like so. So for the cave smoke, you want to come to this corner here, line up here, line up with the bottom of this part here, and jump throw. This lands nicely over the top and pops nicely inside. So this allows you to run up lane and fight into mid with your elbow players. The other smoke you might want to do is the donut smoke. So for this, you come into this corner here, you get stuck, you aim with the bottom of this brick, the V here, and just jump throw. This nicely bounces off this wall and blooms, so they have no vision. So once you've done the red smoke, like so, you then will want to flash for your teammates. So come into this area around here and aim with the bottom of this V here. Then simply, you just want to jump throw. You can even pair this with a W jump throw for your first one, pushes it further forward and blinds anyone getting aggressive into mid. Now, as the first T player coming into elbow, there are two mollies you could do. The first one is simply running with this back wall, aiming here, and just left click throwing. This Molotovs heaven and gets the boxes as well, meaning that they can't do the run boost and run or without getting hurt or giving away information. However, the new meta molly to stop aggression into elbow or mid is to come here and just aim at this floor bit here. Just W throw. This puts a nice Molotov close here, forcing them to take the fight wide and be exposed to the flashes. Now, when you're taking mid, you may want to molly cubby. So simply you could just run throw like so, puts a nice molly there, pushes anyone out. However, if you're taking mid on a slight delay, you might want to Molotov it through a smoke. So to do this, you line up with this part here, aim just off the side here with the part with the wood meets the brick, and just W jump throw. This nicely bounces off the wall and gets cubby. Now, the pro tip is the instant smokes aren't necessary, as most mid pops or rushes won't be instant themselves due to the CT utility set that lands around here. So that's Nades and Molotovs. It's also the only smoke you actually need to take mid, because this is a very hard fight. Therefore, once you take mid, you will want to re-smoke red. So an easy smoke is just bouncing it off the wall here, or just finding a way as search. Then you will want to pressure donut with utility. So the best way is probably flashes and then Molotoving behind. The best way I find is to just bounce it off the walls because it's nice and curved and will push the Molotov behind here, forcing anyone behind the pillar out. Then you only have to worry about this corner and then the fight into A. Now, fighting into A, you have the A execute. So for a good execute, you want to isolate players on the site. The first is the CT smoke. So to do this, get into the corner here, aim with this line here, and just jump throw. The second smoke you want to throw is the donut smoke. To do this, line up just in the middle of this part here, aim with the bottom of this triangle here, and jump throw. This, I've found, is the most consistent donut smoke, and it pops nicely deep into donut, giving them no smoke to work around. Another CT smoke you can do if you want to lurk out mid is from here. So line up with this part of the vine, aim with the top of this brick here, and jump throw. This again does the nice deep CT smoke that we all love and allows you close middle for information on rotations. However, I would not recommend doing this play a lot, as it gets more and more expected the higher levels you go. So now when you're entering, there's two very important flashes you want to do. If you're the donut smoker here, after you've done that, you'll want to run in, aim high, and just left click throw as you're running. This flash pops high, which then blinds anybody playing Brokey or Temple. The second flash your entries will want to do is bounce it off this wall so that it lands nicely inside the cubby and doesn't blind any entries. To do this, make sure you're aiming on the right hand side of this and you can throw it while running. This, as I said, pops nicely inside cubby and doesn't blind your entries going out. And if you're the second or third player out of main, you may want to molly behind Brokey, as this is a very common spot for an A anchor to play. So to do this, you just want to come out, aim slightly higher, and just run and left click throw. This will bounce off the box and land nicely behind Brokey, or big box, depending what you call it. The other molly you may want to do is, again, second or third player out, is just to line up with the kind of this area and just run forward and left click throw. This lands a Molotov nicely behind a site, which prevents that A player to be annoying behind the headshot angle. So the pro tip here is now you have the site, don't overcomplicate it. You only need one area, whether that's Temple or Donut. Pick one, communicate it, and play for that space. I would usually recommend Temple, as on rotations, most CT players will play inside Donut, so you'll be fighting out. However, with Temple, you can just play crossfires, whether that's a player tucked here, a player tucked here, and some players towards main or boost. And for any smokes that are left, make sure you are re-smoking Donut and CT. Now, the BXQ is probably the most common one you'll be using, so make sure you have this right. So for the short smoke and the long smoke, you want to come into this corner here. You can have a teammate drop you the smoke, and then for the short smoke, you just want to aim with around the middle of this part here, jump throw, and for the long smoke, you want to aim where this bit of plant kind of comes down. See, there's one kink here and the second kink here. On the second kink, jump throw. This smoke lands nicely on short, and this long smoke lands nicely and covers off all of long. Again, both these smokes don't give space for the CTs to play around. You can smoke cave, which again, from this corner with a third smoke, aim with the bottom of this part here and jump throw. However, most of the time you will want to try and B split. Obviously on a B rush, that might not be the case. Also, the problem with this smoke is it doesn't allow for this net set of mollies. So the first molly you want a player to throw is to come into this part here, aim with the top part of this building, and just left click throw. The reason this molly is so effective is it clears behind sight, but also forces the cave player into cave. So if you're doing a B split, they can be killed from this angle here, or you can just completely leave them stuck in cave. So afterwards you can either re-Molotov it or re-smoke it. The other Molotov you may want to do is for dark. So come into this doorknob here, aim with this black dot here, and just left click throw. This will bounce off that part here and just nicely Molotov into dark. One thing that you should be doing before a BXQ or any player that's playing B early in the round, you should be mollying towards top ramp, like so. The reason you do this Molotov is it stops any CTs getting aggressive towards ramp, and therefore the information. Another piece of utility that's really useful on the T side is Molotoving Broland, is by running into this door here, aiming at this brick here, and just left and right click throwing. The reason you throw this Molotov is not only just for a little bit of damage, but it gives the information if a CT player has got aggressive into cave. It's quite a difficult molly, so unless you feel confident and practiced it pretty regularly, I would personally avoid doing it. And just focus on a flash into this corner and nading off the wall. So the two flashes you may want to do is I would recommend after these smokes here and before your teammates push the site, just aim with the corner here and W jump throw. This pops nicely above the wall here, not blinding your teammates and forcing the long player back. The second flash that you may want to do is from the player who does the backside molly. So again, when you're here, you just want to aim with the middle of this part here, just where this top of the tree kind of comes above here. And then you just want to left click throw. The reason you want to throw that is it nicely pops above this wall for your teammates to not get blind as they're rushing, but also it blinds anyone cubby if they're being pushed out the molly. And for B, the pro tip I can give is, again, don't overcomplicate it. You only need 2 areas of the site. So if you have ramp and you can hold ramp, then I would take long or cave. Long is an extremely important position on B, and if you can take it, that's great. But remember, most CTs will be retaking from through CT towards short and long. So if you can keep this part smoked and Molotoved, you're in a much better position to retake long. And if you've done this util set, quite a few CTs will just back off. So they will be playing behind the smoke, ready for you. So you either need to flash your teammate in for the fight, or you just need to play for the space you have. If you are looking for a place where all these lineups are stored without having to bounce across different browser tabs, then you are in luck. Metastack is an all-in-one CS2 workplace for lineups and more. And it can be useful for anyone, whether you're a pro team like Astralis or 3D Max, or you're a solo queue grinder. Backed by big names and legends like the creator of Counterstrike himself, Gooseman, Metastack is already changing how players prepare and perform. So if you haven't already, make sure you click the link in the description and join Metastack today. Now, back to the video. So now for CT side, we're mainly looking at early space denying utility. And the big one here is the elbow smokes. So for the instant elbow smokes, I'll show you one for every spawn, but I'm going to be honest, this is the best spawn for it, and it's the easiest one to learn. So if all your team learn this spawn, then you could just tell this guy to throw it, and your A player can just drop a smoke for them afterwards. So for this side, as I said, it's super easy. You aim with the top of this part here, and you shift walk and jump throw. So you shift walk to the bottom of it. And as you can see, it pops really nicely in elbow. So for this spawn here, you aim with this, the left side of this black brick here, shift forward a bit and jump throw. For the third smoke, the mid smoke, you want to come here. So you see the top of this part here and this black line here, aim in between, shift, run throw. And with these 2 spawns here, they are just repeats. So aim with the left-hand side brick here, shift, jump, throw. With this one here, top of here, in between these 2. Bada bing, bada boom. So to smoke the door, you're going to be in the second spawn here. Aim just off here, run forward slightly and jump throw. This bounces nicely off that wall and bounces into door. Now, if you're playing into mid, this is the utility set you kind of need to throw every round. So with the elbow smoke, you have the close Molotov that gets close wall. So aim with the top here, just run and throw. This nicely pops close to the wall and prevents any player fighting close, so pistols or SMGs. However, on rifle rounds, they'll most likely go wide. So for this, you just want to aim low and just fire like so. So if you're doubling up, just do both, so you both know which one to throw. With this, I would also always pair it with a nade. So aiming like so, and if you do 2 nades with those Molotovs, it's pretty difficult for those T players to rush out mid. And if they do, they have taken a lot of damage. And if you're the second player, because the first player will want to be guns out, you can also flash behind the boxes. This of course will not blind you as you're pushing up, and will blind any Ts pushing out elbow. And it's as simple as that for mid. Once you have control of mid as a CT, you want to keep re-smoking elbow. And if you're the A site anchor, you should rarely be playing A. And I know this because I'm the A anchor and I constantly mess up and just remove any impact I'm having on CT by sitting either big box, brokey, or behind site. So I'm actually not going to show you anything on A site because I think you should be playing either towards donut for the retake and for information, or towards mid with your teammates to play for lane. And for you as an A player, the 2 most important pieces of utility are the Molotov and the nade. The nade is important so you can blow up any smoke they throw into donut on an A rush and stop and deny any plants or anything like that. And a Molotov so you can Molotov towards temple and stop the Ts getting control of temple on an A execute. However, on B site, you do have a set of utility that you kind of need to throw every round. The long or B anchor player will be mollying towards ramp to prevent or to get information on a B rush, and I usually pair that with a nade as well. Again, if you do these every round, you're kind of preventing or at least deterring any B rushes or a player getting aggressive towards ramp. The other thing to keep in mind is if there's no information across the map, you may just want to smoke the top ramp. The reason for this is because they are probably grouping for a B execute. This way you can get some players to get information across the map while you just wait for the execute. If you're the cave player, you'll want to be doing this utility set. So the first thing you want to do is Molotov lane. That pops on molly nicely there and does any damage, or at least gives information if they're pushing lane. This is really important for your mid players, so they know if someone is getting aggressive top lane, so whether they need to fight or play passive if they think it might be a mid split. Paired with this, you can also just nade into lane 2. Again, inflicting a lot of damage on anyone pushing up lane fast. And again, it's about deterring the T's getting the space. Now, what you could do if you want to get aggressive lane as a CT and deny this space from the T's is smoke off door and get your A player to flash in towards lane, like so. The reason this flash is so effective is it will blind anyone aggressive into lane as a T, but will not blind any players coming from mid or cave. And that is the only utility you need to know to reach high level CS, whether it's level 10 on FACEIT or 30,000 on Premier. And if there's anything you think I missed, please let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe or like on your way out, and I'll see you next week. Peace.